Thank you for tuning in to Kingdom Radio, your go-to podcast for everything Kansas City Chiefs. How are we doing, Chiefs Kingdom? Welcome to Kingdom Radio. I'm your host, Richard Smith, along with my senior NFL analyst and co-host, Chris Chavez, and we are happy to be on here telling you that the Chiefs, pulled a stunning victory yesterday, Arrowhead, 51-31, in a game that really looked like was headed in the opposite direction. And man, what a victory. Chris, I don't even need to ask you how you're feeling. I don't even know if you can put it into words, but tell Chiefs Kingdom what's going on. How are you doing today?
Bro, my heart still hasn't gotten to its normal rhythm yet. It's still recovering. It was such an emotional roller coaster yesterday that I'm still recovering today, as I'm pretty sure Chiefs Kingdom is as well.
Hey, and you really couldn't have put it any better. The emotional roller coaster was in full tilt, and everybody was on the ride. I'll tell you what, when you go down 24-0 in the first quarter, first half, you go down 24 points in any divisional playoff game, I'm telling you what, it's hard to come back from that. And for the Kansas City Chiefs and ultimately Patrick Mahomes to do that in one quarter. In one quarter. We're talking a 10-minute stretch at most where the Chiefs come back from a 24-0 deficit to take the lead and go into half. 24-28, I'm sorry. The Chiefs had the lead 28-24 going into the half. How much better could that have got, Chris? What were your thoughts when we were sitting there down 24-0?
So, I felt like we were going to start doing something because we've been a second quarter team all year long.
Right.
And when we got the first score, I was like, okay, here we go. The things are going to come. At that point, I'm thinking okay, third quarter, fourth quarter, we're going to put it all together, and we'll come back and we'll win with a last-minute field goal or something. I know that's the direction we're going.
Right.
And then we get the stop on the fake punt. We get a touchdown. We get the ensuing kickoff fumble, and we take that or turn that into a touchdown.
Right.
So, oh my, this could happen before halftime. I don't think in my wildest dream, granted it was only a quarter, I didn't think that there was any way for us to go into halftime with the lead.
It was, hey, look, and that was a crazy scenario. And, you and I were actually messaging during the game talking about this. And Chiefs Kingdom, just know that Chris and I, we obviously communicate through the Chiefs game, every Chiefs game, and basically every game that's played, that we get a chance to watch, we're talking. But I know that both of us, and even some other fans that I was talking to at that point, we all still feel extremely confident. 24 points is not enough, to put Patrick Mahomes away in the first quarter. I think everybody in Chiefs Kingdom could feel it as soon as McCole Hartman returned that punt, and really put us in a great position, great field position for Patrick Mahomes. This was, I don't know how to explain it, bittersweet in a way. I think that's the best way to put it. Chris, take this away from me because I'm still speechless here.
A couple things that really stuck out to me was the 21 points that we gave up in the first quarter. I can't put that on the defense.
No, not at all.
And I know that a lot of people look at the score and say, man, our defense gave up 31 points. They really only gave up 10 in the first quarter.
Right.
on the Texans' first touchdown, it was a blown coverage.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
We caught looking in the back, we were expecting the bubble screen.
Yep.
And Watson was able to hit Kenny Stills breaking downfield.
Yep.
And then the two following, I put those on the offense. One on special teams, one on I guess they're both special teams. The blocked punt that was returned for a touchdown.
That was on Travis
Defense
Kelce.
has no control over that.
That was on Travis Kelce for dropping that third down pass.
Well, yes. So in the first quarter, we had 2 dropped passes. I think D-Rob had a total of 2 dropped passes just in that first quarter alone.
Right.
But the dropped catches were certainly hurting us. And then the blocked punt, and then the ensuing punt that, for whatever reason, and I kind of understand having Tyreek back there because you need to have an explosive play.
Mm-hmm.
But he's only fielded 1 punt all season this year because we've had Hardman back there.
Right.
And the rust showed because, A, he didn't fair catch the ball. He felt the pressure coming on, and he turned away from it for whatever reason, and it totally screwed up his mechanics of catching the ball. And so, and I know the defense was on the field for a couple places try to stop that touchdown. I don't put that on the defense. I put that on the special teams for putting them in that situation.
I completely agree.
So in the first half, only 10 points is against that defense.
Right. And I will say, I want to give Dirty Dan Sorensen his credit because that man made some critical plays for us. The fake punt that you mentioned, he was the one who came underneath and made that play in the backfield to ultimately stop that play and give the Chiefs the ball back deep in Houston territory. This is one of my biggest things that I really loved about yesterday's game is every player on Kansas City, for the most part, is clutch. And when it came down to the moment where, look, if we go down 31, I'm really starting to worry. I mean, any other team in the NFL, if you're down 24 points, the game's pretty much over for you. If you're down 24 points in the playoffs, the nail might as well be in the coffin because at that point, I mean, that's the biggest blow you could take. Having a home playoff game, going down 24 points in the first quarter, that's a lot to come back from, let alone going down 2 touchdowns. We're spoiled with Patrick Mahomes because in my mind we expected this comeback. I felt like when Demarcus Robinson dropped the ball, the booing from the crowd was just... the blocked punt, I really put that on Travis Kelce's shoulders because that is the third down where he dropped the ball. And let's talk about the Demarcus Robinson drop. If he would have caught that ball, that was 6 all day long. That was a touchdown.
Absolutely.
And so it's a scenario where, I mean, Patrick Mahomes should ultimately have 6 passing touchdowns. But if Demarcus Robinson catches that ball, I totally believe, when we go for 6, I still believe Mahomes was throwing 4 touchdowns in the second quarter.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So, all in all, the brilliance of Patrick Mahomes shined through way more than what people would say was a choke by the Texans. I mean, the Texans still put up 31 points in a playoff game. To me, that's not a choke. That's not a choke. You just couldn't keep up with Kansas City and Patrick Mahomes. And what Andy Reid did, I want to touch base on this because what Andy Reid did is he cut Patrick Mahomes loose. He let Patrick Mahomes go back to Patrick Mahomes from last season. And Chris, you and I touched base on this on the pregame show, and we said that ultimately, we felt this was going to happen, and sure enough, look out. We also said that we needed a huge day and a huge postseason from Damian Williams, and I was almost on my knees, begging him to have a great postseason. I'll tell you what, 3 touchdowns to start the postseason for Damian Williams is a heck of a way. I can forgive you for the rest of, the season just for this one performance. Travis Kelce. Gosh. Travis Kelce. You know, this man had a hamstring, or a calf injury. Was it a hamstring or calf, Chris?
His was I believe, a bruised knee.
A bruised.
And then in the game, he ended up straining his hamstring.
Okay, so a man fighting through 2 injuries, getting 10 receptions for 134 yards and 3 touchdowns. 3 critical touchdowns for the Kansas City Chiefs. I will say that Travis Kelce is the only player in NFL history to have 3 receiving touchdowns in the same quarter in a playoff game. Also, Patrick Mahomes is one of 2 players to have 4 touchdown passes in 1 quarter. Chris, I'm sure that you know some more records that have fallen yesterday, because there's probably quite a few. But take off here. I mean, what can you say about Mahomes and Williams and Kelce? I mean, hell, I'd love to give the game ball to Mahomes, but Wilson and Kelce deserve it.
Man, there were so many great performances in yesterday's game. This wasn't a game that Patrick Mahomes led us back and won for us.
Mm-hmm.
This was a team effort win.
Yeah, I mean, the defense looked great.
Yeah, and the thing that everybody was talking about in the post-game press conferences and interviews is that nobody hung their head. Yeah. Everybody kept their head up. Nobody was looking at the scoreboard. And then I believe it was Patrick Mahomes who came over and said, just do one thing great.
I love it.
Do one thing better. And on the ensuing kickoff, Hardman goes and busts out a 50-some-odd yarder. We turn it into a touchdown. Then Dirty Dan goes and he has himself some big plays. And then the momentum just swung from there. And it was great to watch. And here's the other thing, is that a lot of people are going to be knocking in the Texans for giving up the game and whatnot. That Deshaun Watson threw for 388 yards out of desperation yesterday.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, he outperformed Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes had 321 yards.
Yep. The difference is touchdowns.
Absolutely. The Texans, they had 3 receivers with 80 yards or more yesterday.
Yes. I mean, DeAndre Hopkins went for 118, but we kept him out of the end zone. Now, let's talk about this for a second. Carlos Hyde was held to 44 yards in this game, and we're talking about a 1,000-yard rusher, throughout the season. So how big was that for, the Chiefs' defense to hold their running game and also really only hold – look, Deshaun Watson only had 37 yards rushing. So that's a huge plus for the Chiefs going into a game with a run-heavy team like Tennessee.
Yeah, and to sum that part up, the Texans only had 94 yards rushing yesterday. They didn't break 100. Whereas the last time in the regular season when we played them, Carlos Hyde himself broke 100.
Right.
So the defense was certainly honed in. And after the first quarter, the Chiefs went on a 51-7 tear.
Wow.
I mean,
wow.
For our defense, now granted, they started off rough, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
The team, first quarter, okay, we overslept. Game started at 3:05, not 2:05. My bad, you guys.
Right.
The defense played their high knees off.
I agree. They ultimately gave up 17 points.
Yeah. And anybody who is still harping on this defense, you guys don't know what you're watching.
Yes.
Because this defense is a Super Bowl caliber defense.
Absolutely.
Yes, they gave up nearly 400 yards in the past game. They kept the Texans out of the end zone when they needed to.
Yes.
In the second half, they dominated the Texans.
Frank Clark with 3 sacks, and then I gotta say, there was the one sack, I believe it's the last sack from Frank Clark, there where he didn't miss Deshaun Watson once. He missed Deshaun Watson twice, still kept coming after him. and got the sack.
That second sack.
It was a second sack, and look, the effort put into that. That is why we went and spent the money that we did on a player like Frank Clark, because that is the effort that we get out of him, and this is a healthy Frank Clark as well.
Yeah, on that play, he ran 42.2 yards, and kind of like you were saying, swung and missed at Deshaun twice, but that third time he connected and he got him down. That was a thing of beauty.
It really,
and that's also a coverage sack, because with as much time as it took for Clark to chase him down, think about how open the wide receivers downfield should be getting.
Right. Yes. So and that should give Kansas City an idea of what we're looking for here throughout the rest of the playoffs, and I'm going to say into the Super Bowl. We're looking great. I know that DeAndre Hopkins had over 100 yards receiving. And look, this is just, you're right. This is a desperation. These are desperation stats by Deshaun Watson. I'm actually surprised he didn't have any interceptions.
He almost had a couple. Badger almost got him for a couple.
Yes, and I'll tell you what, I really wish he'd hold on to some of those, because he's probably dropped about 4 interceptions this season.
Yeah.
But all in all, things look great. What really matters in the playoffs is the final score and coming out healthy. I would say the Kansas City Chiefs came out healthy in this playoff game. I really hope that we can get Jones back for this next game, because he's going to be extremely important and can help stop this huge running game with Derrick Henry. But the overall effort of every player on this team was superb. The Kansas City Chiefs, ultimately, after the first quarter, dominated from top to bottom. I was shocked to see all the miscues in the first quarter, because that's all it was. It was fundamentals. Fundamentals got Kansas City down 24-0 in the first quarter. But the magic of Patrick Mahomes gave Kansas City the lead back going into half, and we had the ball first coming out of the half, which it didn't take him any time at all to score again. So, Chris, what a magical way to lock in the AFC Championship for the second season in a row at Arrowhead Stadium, and really put an exclamation point on to everybody, every team in the playoffs for here on out. Gosh, I don't even know what to say. It's just brilliance, pure brilliance from Patrick Mahomes.
Well, and because you touched on that, I'm going to kind of run with it for a little bit. The performance yesterday put everybody else in the playoffs on notice.
Yes.
This is what we're capable of. This is what you have to be able to do to keep up with us.
Right.
And Tennessee right now is coming in and saying, okay, we beat you guys last time using our run game. We're going to slow things down, so on and so forth. They're going to have to be able to outscore us. And as we saw in the last game against Tennessee, and in most of the running games that we faced at the second half of the season, we were able to stop the run.
Right.
And when we played Tennessee, we didn't have Mike Pennell. We're going to have him this time.
Correct.
We're going to have Xavier Williams healthy. Not necessarily saying that he's going to see a lot of field time, but he'll be healthy. That's another big body we can rotate in at defensive tackle.
We love our depth on the defensive line, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah. And then Chris Jones is going to be there, presumably, and he'll be able to contribute. They're going to have a matchup up the front that's going to really force Henry to go where, and this is the hard part, it's going to force Henry to go where he's been the most successful, outside the tackles. And so we're going to need our safeties to play up, our cornerbacks to be willing to come down and make those tackles.
And that's what I love about Tyrann Mathieu. You know that he's going to hit that gap and have no problem getting in the way of Derrick Henry.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that our entire secondary is nowhere near the tackler that Marcus Peters was, where he basically is a bullfighter. Ole, get out the way. All of our guys are willing to stick their nose in and make the tackle and get dirty.
Right.
And that's exactly what we're going to need in this upcoming game. But the Titans, they're going to be looking out to try to figure out ways to outscore Kansas City. So far in these playoffs, Tannehill hasn't thrown for over 100 yards in a game.
Wow, I love that stat.
They're heavily relying on Derrick Henry.
Yes,
and so if we shut him down, or if we get too big of a lead, they're going to have to change who they are and who they've been, and they're going to have to throw the ball.
Yeah, and I feel like they're going to be unsuccessful at that.
Yeah, and nothing against Tannehill. Tannehill's had a fantastic season. He's a lot better than the stat I was just throwing out there about his performances here in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
He can throw for 200-300 yards. He's got the weapons. It's just that he's not very consistent with them. And so it's going to be very interesting to see which Titans team shows up in this game.
You know what's really great about this, and we'll touch base more on this, during the weekend on the pregame show, is that the Titans are ultimately a one-dimensional team. All the Chiefs have to do is shut down the run. So what would Spags do? Stack the box and make our defensive backs play man coverage, which the Chiefs have had a lot of success with. Spags has done a great job utilizing his talent and, ultimately using our depth chart in the best possible way. So here's my thing. If Spags is already stacking the box and making our cornerbacks play one-on-one coverage, and then we stop Derrick Henry, we're still going to stack the box if they change their game plan. It's gonna fall right into place for the Chiefs because they're gonna try to throw the ball like you said, but the Chiefs are gonna still stack the box. They're gonna come after Tannehill. So realistically, the Chiefs don't ever have to change up their game plan, and I feel like they're going to have success because with the Texans playing on their heels, it falls right into Spags' game plan. Do you see what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So what are your thoughts on that? I mean, one-dimensional team, Chiefs stop the run, then keep stacking the box and stop Tannehill, game over.
Yeah, and I think we're going to be throwing some different looks at them as well. Stuff that Tannehill didn't see in the last game.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, I feel very confident heading into this game because the way that we lost the last game was primarily just because of miscues on special teams.
Right.
We got that out of the way yesterday, and so we're probably going to work our tails off, and we're not going to make any more mistakes next week. Because if we didn't make those mistakes in Tennessee, we win that game.
Very true. Very
true. It
true.
would have been an ugly win, but we would have won that game.
Yes. So there's a lot to talk about and a lot to look forward to with this Tennessee game. But this game is going to be one that Chiefs Kingdom won't forget for a long time, and I can't blame them because the emotional roller coaster that this was, and it ultimately falling in the Chiefs' favor, and for the Chiefs to put up 51 points, I mean, that is a shot to everyone in the playoffs saying, hey, Kansas City Chiefs are here, we're here to play, and we don't care how many points you score, we're going to put up 50. Andy Reid cut loose Patrick Mahomes and said, do your thing. And you see what's happening here.
Yeah, it was incredible. And like you were saying, not only will Chiefs Kingdom never forget this game, but the NFL will never forget this game because we are probably never going to see another game like this where a team is down by 20 plus and comes back to A, have the lead at halftime, B, win by 20.
Right.
I mean, that's a 40-point swing. And it's just incredible. And no other team in history, in the 100-year history of the NFL, has ever done it and will probably never be able to do it again unless it's a Patrick Mahomes-led team.
And I'm just going to go ahead and say it. There's nobody ever like Patrick Mahomes. Does he have anything left to prove? Yes, he has to win a Super Bowl. That's the only thing. Even if he only has one, and I have a great feeling he's going to have more than one. The kid's done so much already. You're talking about a 2-year span where he's done more than most players have ever done in their whole career. And we're talking some careers, 15 years, 10 years. It's incredible to see this kid navigate the game of football.
Yeah, in 3 seasons, technically 2, but in 3 seasons as a pro, he's broken more records than some of these seasoned vets have in their entire careers.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
He looks like he's out there playing Madden on rookie mode with all these guys. He's just playing with all of them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And he knows the game so well. He knows every single aspect of it down to the T, and he's got the talent to back it. I mean, this kid is wow. He's a Chief. He's a Kansas City Chief. That still is blowing my mind. We have the Michael Jordan of football here in Kansas City, and he's not going anywhere. And anybody who has to say anything about Deshaun Watson getting paid more than Patrick Mahomes, hey, there's your answer right there. Head-to-head, Patrick Mahomes, any day of the week. Any day of the week.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing I want to throw out there is this was a huge win for the Chiefs as well. Obviously any playoff win is huge, but the way that they won yesterday is going to really help, whether it's against Tennessee or in the Super Bowl. If we're down, regardless of the amount, this team is going to keep fighting because they know they can come back.
Absolutely.
In a matter of seconds. It's just a matter of we need to get the ball in Patrick's hands, and we're good.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you what, Patrick Mahomes literally put the entire team on his shoulders and said, let's go do this. And they did. I'm hats off. I knew that it would be a flat game all game long. That's just not the Chiefs style. That's not how we play in the playoffs. That's not an Andy Reid-led team like this. I think in everybody's mind, everybody knew that the Chiefs were going to come back and win this game. Ultimate. There's something deep down inside. Even the Texans fans, you knew it. You knew the Chiefs were going to, you knew Patrick Mahomes was going to come back from 24 points down and win that game. You might not have expected him to put up 51 points, but he did. He did. 5 touchdowns. Wow. What a game. Chris, what else is there to discuss? I mean, top to bottom, this was a great game. Mahomes looked great. Damian Williams looked great. Sammy Watkins got in there. Two receptions for 76 yards. I mean, Tyreek Hill, he had 3 receptions for 41 yards. McCole Hartman, 2 receptions for 19, but his big, input and special teams. It's just, even on defense, Bashad Braylon with 6 tackles. Frank Clark with the 3 sacks. Dorian O'Daniel got himself a sack, a guy that is really fallen into the shadows for the Kansas City Chiefs, who I had big hopes for. And Rashad Fenton, I'm happy to see a defensive back outside of the landlord get in there and get a sack.
Yeah, Fenton was used really strangely yesterday, more so than he has been all season.
Mm-hmm.
he ended up being the Thornhill replacement, where he would end up playing the nickel, or he'd drop back and play some safety.
He did a great job.
Looked great doing it.
He did a great job. I feel extremely confident moving forward with our defensive backs, especially with what's left in the NFL to play. And I'm talking all teams. The only team that I might worry about a little bit more than others is Aaron Rodgers-led Packers team, but I still think that that's one-dimensional, and the Chiefs could ultimately shut that down. They do have a great defense, but there's no defense that can stop the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, put the best defenses in the league against the Chiefs like they did this year, and ultimately you see where we're at.
See, and I would say that the best defense remaining in the playoffs right now would be the Niners. I think that they have the best defense, especially that defensive line. I think that they're going to give us a run for our money against our offensive line. I think that Tennessee has a sneaky good defense that even still, now that they're even in the AFC Championship, a lot of teams aren't, or a lot of the media, a lot of fans aren't giving them their due. And then Green Bay, while their defense has been good, they're not that Super Bowl caliber defense. They can get picked on. And so I think that while I feel that we have the best overall defense, I think San Fran is very close. Tennessee is a little bit further behind, and then there's a pretty good, not good gap, but there's a gap there, and then the Packers are there at 4.
It's a scenario that there's not a defense left that can really stop Kansas City. The Chiefs are playing the best. I would say all around as a team, Kansas City has the best shot. There's more talent. There's just more all the way across the board. There's more leadership. There's better coaching. It's just, it would be the Chiefs' own fault if they do not win the Super Bowl this season.
Yeah, it would take an utter meltdown of Terrell Owens' proportion in order for us to actually lose this Super Bowl.
It's crazy because never in my life, not even last season, I didn't exactly expect Kansas City to be in the Super Bowl last season because, heck, I mean, we hadn't even been in the AFC Championship game in how many years, and as a first-year quarterback, I was happy with the result. This season, hey, look, this season was different. We expect the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl and the next 4 to 5, and, hopefully the next 10. But first, the Chiefs had to get through the Texans, which they did convincingly. Shots were heard around the world. Now it's Tennessee. So, Chris, is there anything you'd like to add to the show about the Chiefs-Texans game before we wrap this up? Because I feel like we have a lot to talk about in this Tennessee-Kansas City game. It's a lot more in depth. There's brilliant minds on both sides of the field. And I really don't want to get too in depth here in this show.
The only other thing I want to throw out there is, because we haven't talked about their performance at all. Mm-hmm. The offensive line's performance yesterday was tremendous. Patrick Mahomes, 0 sacks. J.J. Watt, 0 sacks.
Shut out again, like we said he would be. And that's the thing. I love how the Chiefs' game plan is always on key when it comes to these key critical players that we cannot have kill us. They always shut them down, and I love that. We never have to worry about a pass rusher in Kansas City.
Yeah, no, we absolutely shut him down. And his stat line is they're literally all zeros across the board except for one pass defense. And if he didn't have that, he wouldn't even show up in the box score.
I love it. Absolutely shut out. And I look for that to continue. I feel like the Chiefs can shut out Derrick Henry. It cannot be that difficult. There's too much talent on this team. And here's the best thing, Chris. We have a lot of speed on the defense. I think that's going to be a huge difference maker for the Chiefs stopping Derrick Henry. Is, like you said, number one, nobody's scared to put their shoulder into Derrick Henry. Number two, we have a ton of speed. Bodies, a lot of bodies on the ball is going to be perfect. They're going to have to swarm the ball more than they ever have, as a defense so far. And I think they're going to execute perfectly. This is their time to go out and shine, and I don't see them choking in this scenario.
Yeah, neither do I. They're going to be walking into Arrowhead on Sunday with some real swagger.
Yeah.
In their step, and it's very much earned. But they got to back it up, and they can't let the Tennessee Titans come out and start the way that Houston did this weekend. We need to punch them in the mouth from the get-go and keep throwing blows all game long.
Oh, and I believe that's going to happen. I know that every single player who had anything to do with that 24-0 drought, which is the entire team, will have a chip on their shoulder, and that will, absolutely be, I will say, a defining point in next week's game, and something the Chiefs hone in on. I don't look for that to happen for a long time.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a great game on Sunday. You guys get out there, get your tickets if you haven't already got them. Get out there, get loud, and root this team on, because they're doing something special.
Absolutely. This is the year. This is the year, Kansas City, one of many. So, Chris, I really appreciate you being on the show. I mean, we could really sit here all day in awe of what the Chiefs pulled off, and the more records that are falling. Patrick Mahomes, I mean, this kid is special. He's really, really special, and he's, like I keep saying, he's the quarterback of the Kansas City Chiefs, and it's going to be that way for a long time. So, hey, look, this is game one of the playoffs. So there's still another game to go before the Super Bowl. Strap yourselves in, Kansas City, because this is absolutely going to be a wild ride. I appreciate everybody tuning into Kingdom Radio. I am your host, Richard Smith, along with my senior NFL analyst and co-host, Chris Chavez. Kansas City, you have a wonderful evening.
From the Kansas City Sports Update Studios, welcome to Kingdom Radio, where we talk about all things Kansas City Chiefs. Brought to you by Arrowhead Update. Join Chris and Richard on iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Spreaker, Player FM, CastBox, and all third-party applications. Check us out on Facebook platforms such as Kansas City Sports Update and Arrowhead Update. And if you cannot find us there, Google or search Kingdom Radio and Kansas City Chiefs, and you will find us. Welcome to the Kingdom.